If you're loving this podcast, be sure to check out the full lineup. From news and local politics to sports and true crime. Find your next great listen right now at duluthnewstribune.com/podcasts. That's duluthnewstribune.com/podcasts.
Hello, Northlanders. It's Wednesday, April 19th. I'm Wyatt Buckner with your Duluth News Tribune Minute, presented by Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union.
The average MPECU member saves over $785 a year in better rates and lower fees. And with MPECU, every ATM is your ATM. With their free checking program, you get ATM fee reimbursements at any ATM anywhere in the U.S. Check out Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union's services online at mpecu.com or visit their offices in downtown Duluth, Arrowhead Road, or Miller Trunk Highway.
Now here's a look at today's headlines. Edison Charter Schools cut about $500,000 from its budget in 4 days from its school year to address smaller than anticipated enrollment and other shortfalls. Staff at Edison, which has an enrollment of about 890 students, predicted earlier this year a $678,000 deficit from the remainder of the current fiscal year, which ends June 30th. School leaders agreed in February to make spending cuts to narrow that gap to $184,000. The charter school system's initial $17.9 million budget for the year, approved in June, anticipated about 950 students would enroll and predicted a total deficit of approximately $50,000. But enrollment losses and less than budgeted for special education aid, as well as aid for building leases, pushed that figure considerably higher. Cuts as of early February are the net equivalent of 4 full-time positions, 1 custodian, 1 English teacher, 1 social studies teacher, and an across-the-board reduction to on-site nursing that cut 1 health assistant. A now vacant substitute teacher position won't be filled. Beyond that, administrator salaries were reduced by the equivalent of 4 to 5 days worth of pay each year, and non-administrator salaries were reduced by about 1 day worth of pay. To cover for the now laid-off teachers, Edison leaders also agreed to reshuffle the school's administration to cover for the 2 teachers who were laid off. Perhaps most noticeably for students and parents, though, are the 4 days that Edison leaders agreed to trim from the end of the school year. That means the last day of classes is set to be June 1st instead of June 7th. Tammy Ratcliffe, Edison's head of schools, said that the charter's budget looks like it'll end up more or less balanced by the end of the year. That's largely because Edison administrators haven't replaced an outdoor education teacher and a social worker, who both resigned since the cuts earlier this year, and because the school secured COVID grant money that reimburses it for air filters, cleaning, testing, and other services Ed has already performed. Edison officials also plan to put the 4 cut school days back into next year's school calendar. If enrollment doesn't meet projections in a future year, Ratcliffe said, administrators will adjust staffing accordingly rather than cut school days. Charter schools like Edison are public schools that are managed by one of 13 state-approved authorizers. Edison's authorizer is Innovative Quality Schools, a Hutchinson, Minnesota-based nonprofit. Some residents have voiced frustration with how the Carleton School District handled an alleged threat of violence to a Native American student. 25 to 30 people attended the Carleton School Board meeting Monday, with 9 who addressed the issue during the public comment portion. The alleged incident happened on school grounds while school was in session, and is said to have involved a white student threatening a Native American student with a weapon, according to the people who spoke at the school board meeting. The board did not address the specific incident, citing data privacy. The district's Indigenous Student Council, which was formed at the beginning of the school year, presented a letter about the incident to school board members at a meeting last month. In it, student council members said the school's response made the Indigenous community feel unsafe, invisible, and dehumanized, and as though white students in the school could attack them physically or verbally, and the penalty would not be the same if the roles were reversed. Kevin Cott, Carleton's American Indian Education Coordinator, argued district policies don't go far enough. Superintendent John Engstrom urged caution in drawing conclusions from a recounting of the alleged incident shared widely on social media. He said those accounts are different from what actually happened. Specific steps to address the issues raised at the meeting were not discussed by the board. The Minnesota House of Representatives has passed the 2023 Environment, Natural Resources, Climate, and Energy Budget Bill by a party-line vote of 69 to 59. The bill now must be reconciled with a similar bill advancing in the Senate before going on to the governor to be signed into law. The bill adds restrictions and toughens requirements for deer farms and transfers their authority to the Department of Natural Resources in an effort to reduce the spread of chronic wasting disease among wild deer. It also provides $4 million over the next 2 years for the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior Superior Chippewa, to work with the DNR to move wild elk from northwestern Minnesota to Carleton and southern St. Louis counties, what would be the region's first wild elk in 150 years. And it invests over $670 million in new funding above previous levels spent for the environment and natural resources. It includes tens of millions of dollars for parks and trails, reforestation, to acquire wildlife habitat, rebuild a state fish hatchery, and repair or replace outdoor facilities statewide, and is believed to be the largest outdoor bill ever, both in policy changes and money for state agencies and state outdoor facilities and land acquisition. Now here's a look at your forecast, brought to you by the News Tribune's Northlandia podcast.
Duluth area weather, what a mess for today. Just classic nasty April weather. Rain, snow, maybe a little sleet at times today, with temperatures holding pretty steady in the low to mid 30s. East winds off the lake around 20 to 30 with gusts as high as 35. For tonight, a little rain, possibly freezing rain overnight. And then overnight low temperatures likely right around 32. And then looking ahead to Thursday, chance of rain or freezing rain, then mixing with a little bit of snow and a high temperature around 35 degrees. We may eventually snow by the end of the week, Thursday night into Friday. I'm Storm Tracker meteorologist John Wheeler.
Thank you to the Northlandia podcast for their support. The weekly podcast explores curious and unique stories here in the Northland. Each episode celebrates the region's distinctive people, places, and history. You can find all the episodes of Northlandia at duluthnewstribune.news or wherever you also get this podcast. Reporting for today's episode was done by Joe Bowen, Jake Petarsky, and John Myers. Thank you for listening to Duluth News Tribune Minute. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.